Good evening everyone, welcome back to Tom Plays Europa Universalis 4 for absolute beginners. We are back with England and we are now a kind of Anglo-French conglomerate, which is brilliant. Hopefully it's going to stay that way. Okay, I don't know if we covered this alert. It's nothing important, it's just telling us that we've got a casus belli that's going to expire. Reason for war, if you remember, and we don't really care about it. Okay, we've got to claim the Isles. Tria's left a military coalition. That's brilliant. So yeah, it really does look like we've got away with it. So, new alert that fired last time was to do with technology. So if we click this, we'll go to the technology screen, which is behind the shield as usual. Okay, so technology is important, as is just about everything, and as with just about everything, it's paid for using monarch power. Generally speaking, it's worth keeping an eye on these sections, these little modifiers. These modifiers here pretty much tell us that we're kind of behind everyone else. In some ways this is good because it means it will cost us less to adopt new technology, but with military technology this is bad. As you would expect, in fact we can see this if we right click on our nation, you can actually see our current technology levels in the three major areas. Military technology is currently 3. If we look at, say, Burgundy, they're on 4. That's very dangerous. We always want to be at least as good as our enemies. So, and especially because we don't have any, we're behind and there are no good reasons not to take this now. We should just go for this straight away as soon as we can. So that's Pike Square. I don't think it actually does much else, it just gives us some bonuses. A little bit of history. And you see this has now changed because we're a bit further on. We've actually got a slight drawback, malus, sort of opposite of bonus to taking the next level. The main reason we're still actually slightly behind because we've got neighbour bonus. The main reason is that we haven't embraced the Renaissance. Okay, so we've got this. I don't think we need the money that badly now. I wonder if gaining papal influence might actually be worth more. I mean, 10 papal influence does take quite a while to put together. Okay, so we did mention the institution briefly earlier, so let's go into it now. You actually get to it from this screen. There's a little option here for show institutions. So the current institution is the Renaissance. You can actually see all of the ones that are eventually going to fire, but the Renaissance started in Lucca. You see, you can actually see other people embracing the Renaissance now. So Lucca's down here, and it's been effectively spreading out from there since then, although in high enough developed provinces, I think it starts appearing anyway. So what's basically happened is places where it fully exists, provinces where it fully exists, are in solid green. Provinces where it's developing are in sort of lined green, and provinces where it hasn't touched at all are, well, in red in our case, in grey everywhere else. So you tend to find that the further you are from where something starts, the less likely you are to have it. But a lot of it comes down to development. Development's that thing we were doing here, where we were increasing these little areas. The combination is the development. The higher it is, the better, basically. French noble rebels. Okay, that's going to happen a lot. I don't feel we can do much about it, but hopefully France will sort it themselves. Even though it's quite an uprising. But then the French army has taken quite a battering, as has ours. So I'd imagine they will be able to put this down. And I'm certainly not about to do it right now. Let's just move these troops over here. Burke has left the military coalition. Okay, so it can be worth trying to hurry the institution up. I don't think we're going to worry too much about this one. But yeah, what I would normally do is probably take London, because that's likely to be our most developed province. And I would just click down here, changes from buildings to institutions, and it shows how much you're gaining every month. And you can, if you increase development, it actually gives a bonus to any institution that you haven't currently embraced in that area. So you can rapidly force an institution to appear in a province by developing it. However, at the moment, I'm not too worried about the Renaissance. I'd probably rather focus on Ireland. So, but it's worth keeping that in mind because we will do that later. The one reason it might be worth doing early on is that obviously any development you do stays for later on. And the more developed a province is, especially London, because it tends to be our most developed at the start of the game, being our capital, the more likely it is that future institutions will actually fire here, will start here. Which is brilliant because it not only gives you an advantage in getting the institution, you tend to get 100 monarch points. So in certain countries I would definitely be trying to do development now. The problem is because we're already behind on technology and we need to start the exploration of a new world, I'm a little disinclined to spend monarch points developing when we really need to be focused on just getting the technologies, as we are behind anyway, so we're not even at much of a disadvantage as of yet. So yeah, let's just keep trying to develop technologies and let's focus on Ireland. So if we go back to our mission tree, if you remember this, we've now completed the one on the extreme left. The ones in the middle are pretty much standard for everyone when you have no DLCs, but we've got this one on the left. That was one on the right, sorry. And this, I believe, will give us claims on Scotland and Ireland. We don't necessarily want to wait for this. I think ultimately we will end up, vassalising Scotland as a result of this. But I don't think we really have time. So, I mean, it will start to happen because we're going to want our total army size to be 100% of the force limit, and we will recover manpower with time, but we also want to get started. So, as soon as we get our diplomats back, it's going to be time to do some spying. But first, let's just check on the army. So we've got 29,000. The supply limit in London is only 33. While our force limit is 38. So we're going to need to split the army, which is normally what you would do anyway. So split in half. I'm going to move the half of the general down to Sussex. For now, I don't think Sussex is bad. No, supply limit 29. It's almost as good as London. And we're going to start developing them as two separate armies. That means each of them wants to have 4 cavalry. Didn't look at that, but we're getting a diplomat back, basically. So we are going to have to start making cavalry now. In fact, let's do that now. Because I do want 4 in each. Okay. Kildare has left. There can't be many people still in it now. Here it is. Oh no, there's still quite a few people. So we could arguably still benefit from diplomacy. But seeing as we've got the extra diplomat, I might actually start doing some spying. So this is like almost the opposite of diplomacy. So it's worth checking people and who their allies are. A lot of the time it's easier just to go to declare war. As long as we don't confirm, we won't actually declare war, but it will show us who people's allies are, who would join in if we attacked. Interesting, we can actually drag Brittany in. I was planning on dropping them, because they're currently losing us 1 diplomatic power a month. So the easiest people to attack in Ireland, as you see, it's mostly single provinces. Sometimes one Irish nation will actually become quite powerful, at which point it might be worth trying to take them down diplomatically, what we call vassalising them. But in this case, they all seem to be fairly even, so probably not worth it. I'd sometimes argue it's not worth for Ireland anyway, especially when you are playing as England, because we really need diplomatic power. In fact, I'm considering dropping Brittany in any case, just because we need diplomatic power. Might do that actually. So we're going to dissolve the alliance with Brittany. I no longer think the coalition is enough of a threat. That will upset them, and it will also give us a truce with them. But I'm not particularly concerned. They're not really big enough to be that useful as an ally anymore. And at the moment we're still got a royal marriage with them, but that will end naturally at some point. The people involved will die. Right, so rather than worrying too much about who's who in Ireland, we might be better off just building spy networks. However, some of these people will be allied with Scotland, so just in case we end up fighting Scotland, I'm going to start with Scotland. So this is a diplomatic screen. Obviously they don't like us, and we just go for build spy network and confirm. And then we'll see up here that we've got someone starting to build a spy network in Scotland. We'll let it build for a while before we look at it. When that gets to 20 is when we can take our first action. And I'm literally just going to start doing all of Ireland. So every Irish nation, well, specifically I'm going to do the Irish nations that are next to the Pale, which is the land we currently own. So that's just 5 at the moment. Might be able to reach Donegal, but 5 is plenty. 5 plus Scotland is plenty. We're going to want to do the same thing down here just in case people attack us or we get dragged into someone else's war. But with our aggressive expansion being so high down here, I think it's better if we just focus up here for the time being. This is one advantage of Britain, is that this area a lot of people on the continent aren't too concerned about. Wasn't as much the case in real life with Scotland. France and Scotland had a very long-standing alliance, the old alliance. But Ireland, unfortunately, largely no one was helping with. Okay, so we've got this again, lose a small amount of ducats to lose some war exhaustion, which is good. But it does mean that we need to watch our money. But we are gaining money every month, so we're not about to accidentally take another loan. This is to do with the Janissaries. Doesn't really affect us. We could get more troops at this point, but sadly we can't afford them. I'm we should also at this stage start thinking about improving the size of our navy. So nice and simple for England. We've got 6 heavy ships, 19 light ships. Not light ships, transports. This doesn't really affect us either. The 19 transports means we can transport 19,000 people. So ideally we want this to be the same size as one of our armies, which given we're currently broken in 2 will actually be 19, which is not so bad. So yeah, but we could do with more heavy ships. So looking at this, we've got room for 2 more heavy ships, which we could do with building at some point, but they are expensive. And in a lot of ways it's still more important to get our army up to scratch at the moment. So we've got 12 and 3, 14 and 2, right. I like to have armies identical if possible, because then it doesn't matter which one you use. It also means we could do another general, but perhaps it's not urgent. Technology, temples. So this is another thing worth bearing in mind. We are now able to build more buildings. At the start of the game, the only building you can build is a castle, which have limited use as a rule, and they are expensive to maintain. Whereas a lot of the other buildings are useful for making us more money, so they'll be worth investing in at any time we happen to have a lot of money. Also, we may find that the Diet starts asking for them. Okay, speaking of which... Ooh, very close to 50 there. We could almost seize land. So clergy wants stability. That's quite a big ask. They want us to have a stability of +3. That will cost us a lot of admin power. Depletion of manpower reserves is worrying to an ability. That is sometimes worth taking, but honestly, with the coalition winding down, I'm thinking I may want to start on Ireland before our manpower has recovered to 50%. It's certainly going to hamper us, and it also means that we have to dishonour our alliance if we get called into a war. So while we do want to increase our manpower, not least for that mission called Levy the Troops in our mission tree, I wonder if a proposal of the burghers might be better, even though it's going to cost us diplomatic power to do. But it does give us some money, which we do desperately need. So let's go with that. Proposal for burghers, so that's York. So increasing production in York. It does have the advantage that with the institutions open, you can actually see it increasing, the Renaissance. Cool. So yeah, basically this is now appeared in a sense, and it's now actually going up every month, which is good. We've kind of kick-started it in York, so we might actually find that it turns up. I didn't actually realise that would happen. I thought it would just give us a certain amount towards the Renaissance, but it still wouldn't actually. Maybe it's just because of the way the Renaissance works. Maybe York is now just developed enough to have spontaneously started gaining it. But yeah, that's good anyway. I think I might risk seizing land anyway, just because we're so close to 50. We will have an uprising, but I'm hoping it'll be pretty small. And with that in mind, I'm also going to get a new general. So on the army, no leader. Got this option to recruit a general. Seems like a decent one. Just check. Oh, there's someone on the pale. Right, okay. So this army, if we just combine them, needs to board the ship and go to the pale, ideally before it falls. We were going to send them to the Pale anyway. Florence wants military access, that's fine. That's almost always fine. Why on earth Florence, which is here, would need military access through our lands in order to fight? And Naples, which is here, is quite beyond me. But I think they actually give us a small amount of money for doing it, so definitely not complaining. And it looks like we have managed to land in the Pale before it fell, which is great. The supply limit is 25, which will be fine, because I think we're only expecting to have an army of 19. And honestly, we probably don't even need that, because a lot of these nations are a lot smaller than we are. So that's brilliant, and we've got some new money now, so let's finish off the cavalry. If we can. Okay, we need one more cavalry there, and we're out of manpower, but that is fine. So we've got all our diplomats back, so I'm more or less giving up now on being nice to the countries of the Holy Roman Empire, because the aggressive expansion is just dropping all the time, and so many people have pulled out of the coalition now. I honestly don't feel like we're in danger. So we can afford to speed up a bit. What we do need to do, actually, if I speed up, is get another advisor. So if we just check our money, plus 3.95, so we can afford a +1 advisor. Okay, so missionary strength is useless to us. Our missionaries are doing nothing because everyone is Catholic. National tax advisor is good though. That should give us more money, which is great. He will partially pay for himself. We've also got this alert for disloyal estates in your country. Expected that. It should go away pretty soon though. So while we do have drawbacks to unrest and manpower recovery and such like, they should go away very, very soon. So I think it was worth it to get the extra land, because we do need to start getting moving on that really. Okay, what else? Let's just speed up a bit. So we want one of these to hit 20. That one's now disappeared, which is good. We use some loans, which is less good. Okay, Scotland has hit 20. It's often a good idea to go as soon as you hit 20, because if the spy is caught, which will happen, it tends to reduce to the nearest 25, which in this case will be 0. So we go back to Scotland. We've now got a new option under the Stop Building Spy Network, which incidentally also shows you details on how fast it increases and such like. We've got an option for Fabricate Claim. There are a few reasons to do this. One of them is that it allows us to attack. At the moment, if we attack Scotland, we get a -2 stability because we don't have a reason to attack them. No casus belli, and we instantly get +2 war exhaustion. Has that gone yet? No, I haven't quite recovered from 100 Years' War. Not to worry. So once we fabricate a claim, which generally has to be something we can reach either by sea or by land. Now to me, our best option is Dumfries. You can't necessarily see it, but it does have a castle, and the main benefit of this to me, as well as gaining land and all the taxes and such like that come from it, the main benefit will be to join up our territory in Ireland with our territory in England. So it's worth getting Dumfries and Ayrshire to start with. So if we click on Dumfries, click on it there or here, and choose OK. So it tells us we've gained a Conquest Casus Belli. So you see we can now attack them without any drawbacks, and it tells us who they are allied with. It appears they've now allied Brittany now that we've ditched Brittany. Apparently we could get Castile to join in with an attack, but I've no intention of actually attacking Scotland. But it looks like if we attack Ulster or Sligo, they will probably join in. Brittany are offering us an alliance. We don't want that. We're waiting for the royal marriage to end, so we can stop losing one diplomatic power a month. Okay, so in the meantime, Leinster has got a claim, so the Irish countries especially we want to fabricate a claim as soon as we can, because there's only one province to fabricate a claim on. So once we've done that, we may as well just stop building. But we can now declare war on them, but we would also end up at war with Thomond and Offaly, and Offaly at least is another place we could have a claim on. So we may as well wait till we have a claim on them before attacking Leinster. We can hopefully take them both at once. There was increased demand pensions, so we lose tax but the nobility is more loyal, or we refuse, we lose stability and lose loyalty. The nobility's loyalty is so low already that we can't risk it, so it's far better to lose the tax. It's not the end of the world. I don't know if you've seen this before, possibly not. Basically these two claims we've just made with our spies, we've now got an alert telling us that these will expire if we don't do something about them. We've got a pretty generous amount of time to deal with them though, I think 25 years, so not to worry. Just checking this, nothing too exciting. What's France doing? So they like us, their liberty desire is down to 56%, so we're not quite safe yet. Although I think if Henry dies we should be fine. How's our coalition doing? Yeah, it's still there. It will probably hang around for a bit longer now, simply because we're no longer trying to actively fight it. Might go back to actively fighting it once we get some diplomats back, but we might be better served cementing our relations with our allies before we do that. But yeah, I want to at least have claims on all 5 of these and on Scotland. I've left the Scotland one going because Scotland has more than one province, so it might be worth claiming a little more. In theory we'll get Scotland as a vassal later, but as a rule it's more valuable to have land yourself, and if we're going to have to fight them in a war anyway, we kind of may as well get some reward for it. Okay, so where does that leave us? We are almost up to 19 over here, which I think is what we want, so let's build 2 more troops there. I think we need another cavalry down here, and oh, what am I doing? Sorry, apparently I've lost my mind. And I think we're almost done. Okay. Kildare. Fabricate claim. Keep closing that by accident. Start building spy network. Get the diplomat back, and then we'll go for Ulster, which is the final Irish nation that we're doing on this occasion. Build spy network. I didn't actually look at this, but now we're a Curia controller, we have this new option called for Papal actions. We can call for a crusade. not against Christian countries. And we can excommunicate people, but they have to have the papal state must have an opinion of them below 0, which is of course the concern with the papal state having rivaled us. Have they still rivaled us? Oh, they've dropped us. That's good. Brilliant. So we've got a positive relationship with them now, helped by our having opposed the Lollards. But yeah, aggressor expansion's still bad, but we're managing. Okay, brilliant. And I think we've finished, was it this spy network as well? Yep. Now I have a claim with you. Stop building spy network. So that is all the Irish spy networks we need. I'm going to start improving relations with Austria. So we've basically got 3 allies now, not counting France, although we need to keep their opinion of us high also. So having neglected them for a bit while we were dealing with a coalition, it's probably worth just bumping their opinion of us up again. And I believe we can now buy it. Oh right, not quite our final troop. Okay. Yeah, that is something to watch out for actually. Look at the military screen. Your limits can go up and down sometimes depending on what happens. It's possible that's gone up because we developed York. So it may stay up, but I'm kind of inclined to keep us at 38 for now. If our manpower gets high enough that we might be able to fulfill that mission, it may be worth getting up to the force limit. But I'm quite happy to stay on 38 for now, even though I generally say you should strive to be on your force limit at all times. I'm just a little concerned it may drop again. Okay, brilliant. So we might be looking into building more ships. I'm wondering if we might even want to start building our colonial ships. Oh, it is looking ahead a bit. Okay. Oh, well, Scotland again. Sorry. Right, so the other thing you find with the fabricate claims is it costs more every time you do it. Cost goes up by 5. So even though we're at 20 with Scotland, we need to be at 25 to make a claim on a second province. Which is fine. Absolutely fine. Thinking about it, I'm wondering if we need to pay our loans off before we worry about building more ships. But we don't want our navy to end up not becoming reliably more powerful than our neighbours. If we can avoid it. Fabricate claim. Right, well let's just go for Roxburghshire. Oh, this is interesting. I think this is just a general good thing. 1 base production in London and extra local trade power. So we could also go for Ayrshire. If we were going to push it, that would at least... We can do Ayrshire because it's reachable in the same sea space. So that allows us to reach slightly more than we would otherwise be able to do. Truce with Aragon is over, so we are going to want to make claims on them as well. Allies first though. Okay, finally got the diplomatic technology, which is marketplace. Relations to Castile. We're already at plus 200, but it's actually going to be higher than 200. So it's still potentially worth improving. Russian Confederation, not really our problem right now. Right, we now have all the claims we need, which is brilliant. I'm going to start improving relations with Poland. Do we want to launch an attack first? So this is interesting. Aggressive expansion 63. 63. How's Brittany think? So there's a danger that Brittany might join in the coalition. But then if we only take a couple of provinces, I think we can probably risk it. So I'm going to just move our troops out. Who's our best option? So Offaly we're facing Leinster and Tyrconnell. Thomond and Offaly. Just Tyrone. Okay. So it looks like if we... yeah, we're facing Scotland if we fight them. Looks like if we attack Kildare, we only have to face one other nation. So we'll go for that. We're going to take out the other nation first, which is often what you want to do. Let's just move the ships up here again, so that if they take off, we can take them. So yeah, rather than going straight for Kildare, I'm attacking their ally, partly because... no, we've had this before. Austria's abandoning Italy. I don't know why they do that. I don't think there's much reason to do that in the current game. It's worth at least trying to keep some of Italy diplomatically. Maybe there's some advantage to abandoning it that I'm not aware of. Oh, and now we can do improved relations with Portugal. Brilliant. Yeah, so as a general rule, I think we did cover this a bit in the French War, but in this case we're not just trying to get Tyrone to pull out, we actually want to annex them as well. So if we take their province first, we will hopefully be able to annex them first, because if we annex Kildare, the war is over. Whereas if we annex Tyrone, we can still annex Kildare, basically. So it's especially worth keeping in mind for wars against very small nations. We could obviously bring our other army over and do them both at the same time, but it honestly doesn't seem necessary. I'm not expecting it to last very long in any case. As a war. Okay, so we are getting a diplomat back. That's because we'd finished improving relations with Austria. Okay, so with that in mind, given that Burgundy is our rival, let's start a spy network with Burgundy. I don't know if we've got claims already. No, we don't. And we have a truce with them for now, but it won't last forever. And it does take a while to build a spy network up. So yeah, worthwhile, I think. Oh, this is good. This is just a random good thing that improves stability, assuming your stability isn't on 3. So we're going to get a bunch of additional benefits from that. That was lucky. Okay, so another thing we need to do, which I should have noticed, if your papal influence gets above 50, or I think with a papal emissary it's more like 52 or 53, you can select one of a number of blessings for the Pope to give your nation. So these are all good. You can't select this one unless you have over 100 or 105 with the papal emissary. But we've got a bunch of others. One of the best ones to get most of the time is Blessed Ruler, because it stops your prestige going down quite so fast. So unless you're really short of money, and we're doing okay money-wise at the moment, we're at least gaining every month, I think Blessed Ruler is usually a good bet. So we've chosen that, our papal influence has gone down 52, and we just close. That's fine. But yeah, we should find that our prestige now goes down more slowly. Still going down though. It does tend to go down most of the time, which is why that one's important. Legitimacy is going up anyway. We don't really need the equivalent blessing for legitimacy, but at least not at the moment. We may need it later. But yeah, prestige we definitely could do with all the help we can get. With that in mind, actually, if you remember the estate privileges we had before, there's another one I tend to do with the burghers, which is patronage of the arts. This basically helps with prestige again. Costs us money and it costs us absolutism, but prestige is so hard to keep high that I do think this is worth it. Plus I quite like it from a role-playing perspective. So I don't do it straight away because you need to make sure your finances are okay beforehand. But as things are looking okay at the moment, I think we can risk it. And actually that's looking good enough that I think maybe it's worth building some ships. So I don't know if you remember at the start we had these light ships which help with money. So they're often a good option for building ships because they increase your money. But as England specifically, we must basically rule the waves. So we're going to need to put a lot into military ships. One thing we're definitely going to need is ships to explore for discovering the new world. So I'm actually going to make a second navy just for that. So I guess I'll build it in Devon. I'm just building a single heavy ship, which at the moment is an early Carrack. These ship models do improve with technology, but it does take a long time, so it's not worth holding off until a better model at the start of the game. And we are going to need some transports as well, but we can only afford 2 without going above our limit. We got room for 3 more ships in total. But we can start on them. One reason I wanted to start on the heavy ships specifically is they take a very long time to make. Interesting that one of our armies is called the Army of Scotland. I don't actually own any of Scotland yet. Is that wishful thinking? Okay, so we found their spy network. So Scotland's been spying on us. They've obviously been a lot more successful. It's only been reduced to 75. And we finished improving relations with Castile. And we've won this siege. Brilliant. So we're going to instantly move over to siege the other province. Their ships have had to take off. And now our navy is happily turning them into mincemeat. And honestly, our navy probably isn't needed now, so we can just land in the Pale. I don't know how soon these guys will be willing to let us annex them. If you suggest demands, it looks like they're willing already, and they'll give us 20 ducats. So we'll go with that. So we have now gained Tyrone. So we've got a new alert up here. So this concept of cause, basically it's not enough just to take a province. It's still considered to belong to Tyrone until we make it into a core. That costs admin power, which is one reason why administrative power is probably the most important and valuable in the game, because we're constantly having to use it. So click on that. May as well do it as soon as possible. Until we do core it, we've got this concept called overextension, which gives us a whole bunch of negative effects. It's basically there to stop you taking too much land at once. It can seriously destabilise your country if you take too much, so it's better to take little and often than lots of land in one go, as a rule. Okay, so this cost here is less than it would have been if we hadn't made a claim. So that's the second reason to have your spies out making claims on other nations. As well as giving you a reason to attack in the first place, it also makes it cost less to core a province. So it's well worth doing if you're considering trying to take a piece of land. You want to try and make a claim on it first. Save us an awful lot of money. When's our next diet? 1462 in September. Cool. Just checking. Check for disputed succession. No, we're fine. And we've got a diplomat back, so I'm going to start building a spy network in Aragon. In an ideal world, we would have claims, at least one claim on every nation we can make claims on. Going to be difficult to keep that up. I mean, it's not so much so bad at the moment because Burgundy's here, but once we start eating into this lovely little collection of nations here, it's going to be incredibly difficult to maintain claims on all of them. The reason why we want to do that is because we never know if someone else might attack us, or if they might start a war with our allies and we'll get dragged in. And if we are dragged in, we may be able to take land, especially if we have claims on it. We're far more likely to be awarded it, even if we're not the one making peace. And if we do take land, of course, it will cost less to core. So it's worth having at least one claim on every nation if you can. Certainly every nation where you can make a claim. We can't make a claim on the Palatinate, for example, because we don't have any adjoining provinces. But at the moment, I think Burgundy, Brittany, Aragon, well worth having claims on, just in case. Ability loses influence, that is not a problem. Oh right, that was the previous one that has expired, which is fine. Okay. Free diplomat. Okay, so this is Holy Roman Empire stuff. We will get more into them later, even though they don't affect us directly. Okay, so our ally has become the ruler of Hungary. I think they've been very lucky because I'm not sure they've had to fight for that. Could be wrong, but yeah, so this is one of the reasons Austria is so powerful. Not only are the Holy Roman Empire, they start with claims on Hungary and Bohemia. Hungary, as you can see, is a very large nation, and Austria now rules it, which is going to be fun because we're likely to come into conflict with them at some point, depending how we do things. They don't compete with us for colonial stuff, so in theory we could keep them as an ally, but they might object if we start eating into the Holy Roman Empire. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. See, one of our transports has already been made, as they are much quicker to build. Sounds like we're losing money, which is worrying. Okay, this is a general bad thing. We've lost some prestige for no good reason. Austria's attacking Ragusa. That's fine. We will have gained some prestige when we annex Tyrone. And we should gain some more. Okay, build a spy network in Brittany as well. And we can definitely make another claim on Scotland. I've let that spy network get bigger than I was intending. Might actually stop it there. 3 provinces is enough, especially for a nation that we're probably going to end up vassalising as part of our mission tree. Burgundy, on the other hand, one can never have too many claims on. But let's start with Picardy, because that joins our land together. I don't know if they might allow us to... Oh no, we made them separate, didn't we? So we could actually build a spy network on Flanders as well. We basically forced Burgundy to give them up. Okay, we've won this siege, so we now got 100% war score. Suggest demand, same thing, annexation and 20 ducats. However, we need a diplomat back. So let's just stop building the spy network in Flanders. So we haven't seen this before. They've done an unconditional surrender, which they might as well at this point, to be fair. And if we don't make war pretty quickly, we're going to start getting issues with our citizens, because the war is basically over. Let's start coring that province. You see Kildare is far more valuable, costing us much more to core, and we hadn't even finished the previous one, so our overextension has gone higher. But we should be fine. We may have to expect uprisings from both of these at some point in the future, so it'll be useful keeping an army in the Pale because it can easily access either of them. That should have increased our aggressive expansion up here, but it doesn't look like any new people are joining the coalition, so I think we've got away with taking those lands in Ireland, which is good. No intention of doing any attacks down here still. Even once the coalition is gone, taking land down here will probably make it rapidly reform. So it's probably going to be more based on aggressive expansion when we start acting normally down here again. Move these over to Devon because that's where the heavy ship's being built. Once we have cored these provinces, we should find that our force limits increase. They have actually increased a little already. Actually, no, that one hasn't. This one has. I wonder if that's natural or if they increase as soon as we take them. Might still leave it for a bit anyway. Our manpower has a lot of recovering to do. It can go up to 30,000. French particularists. Looks like France did indeed deal with those nobles and they're now dealing with the particularists. So this is a nice thing. France is effectively autonomous and they should be able to deal with most of their own internal affairs. Unfortunately, getting the personal union over them does tend to stop them behaving like a colonial nation. So we won't be able to rely on them to help us in the New World. But as they become more loyal, they will be invaluable in any wars we have down here, which will also help us in the New World because we'll ultimately end up having to conflict with Spain and Portugal. So, all good. Right. What else? I think we are about to be able to make a couple of claims and also summon the Diet shortly. So second claim on Burgundy. They do have vassals we could also make claims on, but I might just leave it there for now. Do we have a first claim on Aragon? Oh, we can't make claims on Aragon. Right, because Aragon is next to France and not next to an actual English province, we can't actually make claims on them. I was hoping we could. Can't be helped. Not to worry. That's an interesting one. Government reform progress, I don't tend to think is a major problem. Whereas stability is quite important, so we might be better off actually ignoring them. I just hope I won't have any drawbacks in the future. So we've got corruption, but we are getting rid of it. It will cost us money in the meantime. Also, worth bearing in mind, coring provinces cost money, so you often find you're losing money while a province is being cored. So we don't want to spend money right now, because we don't want to end up getting more loans. Yeah, right. Having said that, we do have some new requests from people, and we are close to being able to seize land again, which is annoying. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to rebuild our manpower reserves anytime soon. However, Magnificent House of Worship on Marketplace. I think the House of Worship in London will actually be better for us at the moment. So they've started asking for buildings now. It is a little unfortunate because I generally prefer to do the burghers on the occasions when they go for these, because they tend to ask for buildings less often. But I'm thinking the base tax in London might even help with getting the Renaissance to appear. Let's go with that. Right, so having said we're not going to spend money, I actually am. So this is actually part of the production interface. It's an alert that comes up when you can afford a building, so you tend to get to it from there, but it is also part of production. The same thing we use to make troops. So we've got castle, church, marketplace. In this case we're going for a church, and we just want to build it in London. It will take a while to build, but when we get it we will fulfill that agenda, and it will also raise our tax by 1, which in theory might help the Renaissance to appear a little sooner. You see, you can actually see the percentage we are towards it actually appearing, and London is far higher than the others. There's a minor concern, honestly. Yeah, see, we are starting to have negatives here. I wonder if it's worth just trying to get it to spawn in London. At least we've got some military power. Maybe if we just knock it up a little. I don't want to spend any admin power at the moment. I'm a little nervous about spending military power, but what you tend to find is, because it spreads, once we have it in London, it'll go faster in the other provinces around London. Unfortunately, it might help. Will it help our enemies as well? Not sure. We're not actually in the same square as them. So you see, even though we haven't been being diplomatic, people are still leaving because our aggressive expansion is just going down. The coalition is rapidly vanishing before our eyes. Isn't that all of it? I'm sure these guys have all pulled out. Normally you get a message saying that the coalition is over. Yeah, Constance doesn't have a coalition against us anymore. Yep, it's gone. So there's no message, but the coalition is officially over, which is brilliant. But if we take, say, I don't know, the Palatinate, you can see that our aggressive expansion is still quite high. So a new coalition could form very easily if we start taking land down here again. So it's definitely worth our just focusing on Ireland and Scotland for now, which is fine. With that in mind, it might be worth our doing some spy networks on the new Irish nations that we're now next to. So remember, we principally want these areas because they put us closest to discovering the New World. We can go via Iceland up here, hopefully, in our explorations. But I imagine Portugal and Spain are well on their way already. So we do need to hurry up. But part of that is going to be down to technology as well. On the plus side, our ship has been built. And Well, we're getting there. It takes time. Okay, anyway, I think I will call it there. So, yeah, coalition has officially been survived. So we definitively got France. They're quite used to being, well, they're a lot more used to being a part of our nation now. They still want to be free, but they're actually on the verge of this alert disappearing. So it's looking good. Might be worth improving relations with them again some point soon, but their opinion of us is just going up all the time anyway. So that's good. But we've made a little bit of headway into Ireland, so our next step is going to be finishing the job. Might take a bit of Scotland as a part of that, but in some ways I'm not as concerned about Ulster, so if they're only allied with Ulster, yeah, Sligo might be a problem, because I'd like to get to Connacht. So, apologies if I'm mispronouncing these names, I really should know better. But yeah, we will save that for next time. On the whole, there's not a huge amount going on there, but there's just slow and steady progress, I guess. Our army is fully recovered from the disaster. Our navy is up to scratch, so we'll hopefully keep them up to scratch. And the one thing we haven't made progress on is these loans, which is a concern. But I'm not too worried about the fact we're losing money, because that's just because we're coring provinces. As soon as we finish coring these two provinces, we will start gaining money again, and we can start working towards paying the loans off. Hopefully. Still going to take a while, but needs doing. But yeah, that's brilliant. I will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.